Okay, good morning everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Baba. Today is my third lecture in Keio taking place online due to current world conditions. As mentioned, it is 2:30 a.m. in Berlin, and it is my first time in my life giving lecture in the middle of the night under lockdown. Berlin just started a night curfew due to the rising corona cases, which I cannot go outside until 6 a.m. It's a perfect time to do a lecture. I appreciate very much for the opportunity. It is always a special feeling to be able to share something toward the next generations. As we have been witnessing, 2020 has been a bizarre experience for all the people on this planet. I highly advise you to continue to be healthy and adapt yourselves flexibly toward a big change. Be curious, be ambitious, and be creative. The future lies in your visions. The word vision is the general theme of this week's lecture. In order to reflect the theme, I've chosen the lecture title as Meta. This word summarizes what I've been searching for in the last 20 years. At the same time, it explains my conceptual view toward what I think of art is about. Meta is a prefix in Latin meaning seeing the thing from a higher perspective instead from within the thing. I'll be introducing some stories related to the title, along with my film works inserted in between. I will not be explaining each work. Please connect the meaning behind it using your imaginations. We can go over the ideas or go over the question after the lecture. To begin with, a little bit of introduction of myself. My name is Baba. I have graduated SFC nearly 20 years ago on the year 2000. I currently live and work in Berlin, Germany as a visual artist. Along with my artistic activities, I take an academic role as a guest professor in Keio. My birth name is Atsushi, but many people outside Japan had a hard time pronouncing my name and ended up being called Achi. I've been using this name since childhood and the artistic activities overseas. The works are oftentimes accepted in the field of contemporary arts, such as conceptual arts, new media arts, and experimental films. Here are some of my photos from my past exhibitions for you to have better understanding. My fundamental visual expression is calligraphy, coming from my mother's influence. Over the years, it changed its form into other media. Sometimes in the sculpture or paintings that freezes time, or in a form of films that deals with time. Regardless of media format, I simply express my universal view based on my philosophical perceptions. It has been a privilege to be able to show my works all over the world until now. But this year has been a devastating time for a lot of occupations, including the artist myself. Reflecting the current global situations, my artworks began to exhibit inside virtual reality. Today, I want to introduce you some stories containing my meta-perceptions behind art and what it means in today's world. I'll be reflecting a wide range of academic fields to find a common denominator. This is my ongoing investigation toward my artistic practice and to get an idea of what we are. Now we start the journey of meta. Kanjie. I would like to begin the story of a legendary figure in ancient China that led to one of the most important inventions of the Eastern civilizations. Kanjie is claimed to be the mythological inventor of Chinese characters, kanji, during the time of Yellow Emperor, approximately 2600 BC. He's often seen with 4 eyes, representing his extraordinary intelligence. Here, there are several versions to his legendary story, so I would like to introduce you one of them. One day, Kanjie was assigned a monumental task from the Yellow Emperor to create a method to improve record keeping. Keeping the track with a rope knot was no longer adequate for a new large empire. As Kanjie was trying to find a solution toward this mission, he met a group of hunters discussing which path to take. He found out their decision was based on the different animal footprints on the ground. The experience inspired Kanjie. By creating a symbol representing a meaning, he could use this concept into his record keeping. This led to his deeper observation of the natural world, assigning signs using lines and strokes. These symbols led into the development of pictograms, which conveyed the meaning of the objects they reflected. When he created script, he formed characters resembling existing objects or activities, calling them bun, pictographic, and characters composed of symbols and sound, calling them ji, phonetic. Therefore, bun and ji combined forms the word moji, meaning characters in Japanese. Just like Chinese characters, Mesopotamian cuneiform and Egyptian hieroglyphs have logographic concept. Although these writing systems vanished at one point of our history, Chinese characters are the oldest and continuously used system of the writing in the world. Shizuka Shirakawa, an emeritus professor of Ritsumeikan University and a highly acclaimed Chinese character and East Asia studies, spends 70 years of research into deciphering the roots of Chinese characters. He explains under these words: the role of the character was to take over myth and consolidate them in the history. Therefore, the primitive characters were the words of God embodying into reality. Since we are already familiar with the letters, it may be difficult to imagine, but in the time when the concept of the writing did not exist, representing the world as a metaphor was magical. Therefore, during the ancient times, characters were sacred elements used in rituals and worship. It was by no means the most important invention of mankind, creating a whole new dimension in our inner space. I would like to share subjective viewpoints toward what I think of art is. One night, I received a fortune cookie after eating dinner at a restaurant. I found this note inside. The value lies not within any particular thing, but in the desire placed on that thing. It was one of the deepest fortune cookie I ever found. This word made me think of what art is about. As characters contain symbols and sound to represent a meaning, art contains medium and aesthetics that represents a meaning. By looking through semiotics, both elements are similar in delivering meaning through communication. The only difference will be one is objective and the other is subjective. According to Russian-American linguist Roman Jakobson, explains the types of language translations under these definitions. Transmutation is an interpretation of a verbal signs by means of signs of non-verbal sign systems. This explanation feels close to what I think of art is. Another example will be vu jade. Perhaps many people have heard the word déjà vu. This is a strange feeling of having already experienced something actually being experienced for the first time. Vu jade, in contrast, describes experiencing something familiar as if it were strange and unknown. This can happen, for example, when you suddenly understand a certain feeling or situation entirely differently. Some people call it like eureka moment or aha moment, or perhaps enlightenment. For me, art is a process of simply expressing this moment in another form. If I were to explain my art in my own words, it'll be desire to see the unseen, pure impulse and curiosity, things that fulfills me. It is a way of life. Perceptions I cannot avoid, signature of mankind, imagination from unconscious mind, echo of inspiration left behind. Is this by chance or necessity? Is it fate or serendipity? Exposing the image I see, inside out. Art is the inner words appearing outside, a personal language translated in a tangible form. Since I have mentioned the first creator of kanji, I want to introduce you the best applier of kanji. Also, he's my favorite artist up to today that has given me many inspirations. Kukai, more commonly known as Kobo Daishi, is one of the key figures to establish today's Japanese culture. His achievements covers from arts, philosophy, architecture, engineering, literature, to calligraphy. In the beginning of the 9th century, he was one of the envoys sent from Japan to learn from Tang Dynasty under 20 years of plan. In a result, he achieved the goal in 2 years, receiving the most important esoteric Buddhism knowledge from Grand Master Keika in Kinron Temple, Xi'an. After coming back to Japan, Kukai establishes Shingon Buddhism, which is still active in the world today. Rather than his religious figure, I want to introduce you his artistic side of his lifetime works, giving you the insight into his meta perspective. Kukai is known to be the best street calligrapher of Japanese history. The actual script is mostly lost, but there are a few still exist in Japan today. This is known to be the extremely important letter in Japanese history called Fushinjo. It was a letter written by Kukai to Saicho, another legendary monk who established Tendai Buddhism in similar timing. This inscription copy based on Kukai's original script was found recently in Western Japan. It seems like they patchworked different writings from Kukai, but Kukai is known to have a special skill of changing the handwriting for each character. It sounds easy, but you'll notice this is extremely difficult when you try to do it on your own. Here's a bizarre fact by Kukai that explains his extraordinary senses. I don't think he made this as an art, but in my view, this is an absolute timeless conceptual art. The location of his birthplace, Zentsuji Temple, that's in Kagawa, Japan, the location where he received the teaching of esoteric Buddhism, which is the Kinlon Temple in Xi'an, China, and the location where he ends his life, Koyasan, that's Wakayama, Japan, appears to be on the exact same latitude. Note that in the early 9th century, there's no accurate maps. Of course, no smartphones. It is still a mystery how he was able to know the latitude in this accuracy. By the way, this was found by a high school student in Takamatsu in 1984. I thought this is one of the outstanding discoveries to understand Kukai in deeper level. Based on those facts, let's look into the perception of Kukai's worldview through the books he has written. In Japanese, we read it as Shoji Jisogi, translated in English as the meanings of sound, sign, and reality. Known to be the oldest linguistic textbook existing in Japan. As the title explains, the book covers the fundamental concepts creating our reality. Surprisingly, the text covers the explanation that was not still yet discovered in the field of science, such as astrology or physics. Here's one of the most well-known verses from this book. 5 elements all have voices. 10 realms contain language. 6 senses are signs. This is the reality. To wrap up, Kukai mentions that the reality is made up of voices and words. This phrase refrains me from another famous text written in the beginning chapter of New Testament Bible. In the beginning was the Logos. The Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. Christianity has explained the language under the name of Logos, clearly signifying as the Creator. Toshihiko Izutsu, a former emeritus professor of Keio and a highly acclaimed Japanese linguist and philosopher, explains under these words after a lifetime study of Eastern philosophy. Existence is language. The viewpoint of the reality constructed among language was an eye-opener for me, which has given me a clear understanding toward my own creation. The words associated with art extends our imagination in a completely new dimension. For example, you can call this photo simply as an apple. Then how about if I describe it this way? Before the first bite. Of course, the phrase is referring to the apple that Adam and Eve ate. But just by explaining the same thing in different words, it completely changes the dialogue. Now the apple is not only talking about the biological name, but metaphorically explaining the forbidden fruit. By using language, you have shifted the perception to view things outside of the object and expanding another meaning in a scene. The ability to grasp as a whole is a powerful tool when conceptualizing. Therefore, I advise you to train yourselves into these areas of studies if you want to take further steps into the field of arts. Generally speaking, the study among the fundamental nature of reality is called metaphysics. Known to be introduced by ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle in the 1st century AD. Aristotle is a key figure to understand today's Western world. And metaphysics will also help you extend your creation without physical limits, and at the same time, it connects your inner language to outside world, vice versa. Imagination is our fundamental component of creation. I would like to explain my thought toward this basic principle. I have broken down the types of imagination under these forms. One is active imagination, which is constructed among envision and application. The other is passive imagination, which is constructed among fascination and experience. When I looked into my creation cycle, I realized a pattern emerging during the process. I can start anywhere, but let's start with this. You experience something and you get inspired or fascinated. Then you envision of doing it further or doing it on your own. Then you try it out, which is application. The application itself generates an experience, so as long as you create, the cycle continues. As a familiar example, think of the Lego when you played during childhood. You could project your fantasies on these simple blocks, build them up with your hands, get creative, and find a better way to do it. Learn from it again and build another one. Continues. The more you did it, the better you got at it. You probably carried out this process subconsciously through play. However, in creation, these elements are not confined to one place, but they're synergistic. So I think this form is correct. I have named this creation spiral, and I interpret it as the structure of relationship between passive and active imaginations. Therefore, artwork is a byproduct of this process. When you look at the elements in nature, such as tornadoes, the universe, or DNA, strong energy is essential for synergistic phenomena to occur. What is the driving force behind this creation spiral? I think it is the imagination. This imagination is the source of energy for our civilized society, and it is always at the root of our culture. Carl Gustav Jung, highly acclaimed Swiss psychologist, explained it this way in a dialogue. Fantasy is, you see, a form of energy. Despite the fact that we can't measure it, it is a manifestation of something, and that is a reality. zeitgeist. I suppose a lot of people here are feeling the instability in today's world. So am I. Radical climate change, polarizing political balance, global pandemic. As for now, no one has solution toward these problems we have created. If I would explain the society as pendulum, there are two forces that is holding each other. Hereby I have explained the outer force as material and inner force as spirit. This centrifugal force and centripetal force balancing together constructs our society. Looking through the history, when these two forces loses each other's balance, the society collapses. As we see the current technological development, it seems like the outer force continues to accelerate in a stage we have never entered. Critically speaking, the future depends on how we use our imaginations. Observing today's world, large part of the system is not made for human benefit, but as a capitalistic benefit. Ironically, the tools we invented to make our lives better contain the side effect that made things out of control. Author of Momo, Mihail Ende, will probably say, we have lacked our imagination. Twentieth-century German-born American physicist Albert Einstein explains under these famous quote: "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. It is strictly speaking a real factor in scientific research." Another quote to support this argument, Toshihiko Izutsu, previously mentioned master of language, describes it even deeper. Humans can't stand living in a world that has no meaning at all. Both claim that imagination is the critical element that differentiates us from other species. Meaning that if machines take over our imagination, what will we become? Clock is ticking. Think once again, what makes us to be a human being? This is where I think art takes important role in forming our next society. It is a special criteria in our surroundings where answers are not bounded to one, where you can express your imagination freely without limitations, where you see things from higher perspective instead from within the thing. Always imagine a world you want to live in, and always imagine yourself how you want to live. When you take actions toward your imaginations, believe it or not, it will come out as reality. This is what I can share you today as the most important lesson I have learned through my artistic practice. An ability to create an art is a miraculous gift nature has given us. I would like to conclude today's lecture with following words. Art is the proof of human beings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Wow, inspiring and deep.
Thank
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so please write your question or say something, question or impression or something to Achibaba. So, yeah, what do you think? Please write down the chat, your feeling or your thinking, what you learn, what you feel. Please, yeah, please write down in chat.
Yeah, anything,
Everybody, yeah, yeah.
it doesn't have to relate to the lecture actually. Anything that you feel or what you think. Someone likes art, just give me random questions.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Please go
Yes.
ahead. Yeah.
Looking at your artworks, I think it's really a collaboration between art and music. And how do you get inspiration from music? And do you work with other colleagues for the music?
Oh, very interesting question. Are you a musician, by the way?
Oh, I play the violin.
Yeah, very musical question. Yes, I collaborate a lot with musicians. I have more musician friends than like contemporary artist friends actually. But for me, it's a bit of same. They express themselves through sound, music, and I do better in visual aspects. But I more recently I recognize more the visuals that I create tend to be more of musical rather than like filmmaker. So I think I see my visions with my sound closer to sound. What is sound part of brain or this auditory sense rather than optical. But I execute in optical output.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Any kind of a question is okay. For example, way of living as artist or what the related to the SFC life when he was a student, undergraduate student here, SFC, or any kind of about art and the expression, or many things you can ask.
We have a question from Kent, and it's about what exactly constitute as art.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but I never thought of myself becoming artist. It was kind of like a result.
Interesting. Yeah.
The image I was seeing and the things I make would never fit in other areas. So actually, you're categorized into artists when that happens. There's no way to make living out of other areas regarding my output because no one can use it, but I can use it by my own. And I started to do more of my own, and naturally, kind of, I became artist. Other people started calling me artist, and I started to live with that. So I don't know which process or exactly how you become artist actually. It was more matter of luck if I look back.
Mm.
I have a question.
Please, yeah.
I was wondering, like, what was your path to becoming an artist? Because it's quite different from, I think, like, the normal, like, path. So I feel like you have to do something different.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. How did I become? Well, more and more I created things. I realize it's too niche. It gets into very niche area that you explain what you're making through your own personal view. And at one point when I did a lot of work regarding visual aspects, of course, from advertisement to films, documentary, all of that. But you realize you're limited with time. You're limited with what you can create. And the only thing I always told myself was I didn't want to regret this word regret. Like I didn't want to regret. When I look back, I said I should have made that. That's the biggest failure you can do. So more honest, I became myself. The creative work turned into artwork. So this also was kind of a natural process, but just being honest to myself. And somehow I'm living through that. So yeah, I really appreciate. It's something that I can't really choose or force. It's a very strange area of work.
Mm.
Is it hard to make a living as an artist, or?
I think so. It's probably the most roughest way. But what can you say? If you're born like that, and if you have purpose through that, you can't. There's no choice. It's your life, and you just commit it. It's you need a lot of commitment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Related to that, I have a question. Are you very good at drawing or making something when you are child? Because many people think artists may be very good at drawing when they are childhood and evaluated as you are very good at that, like that. So, what about you? What kind of child are you?
Yeah, looking back at myself, of course, I drew a lot of things, comics. It was one of my skill set I had from childhood. But if I've seen a lot of people with special skills, and if I look back, I wasn't like extraordinary. It was normal. I would, if it was in under grades, I would say B. I don't have like extraordinary drawing skills, for example. And many artists that I know don't necessarily have like extraordinary technique, actually. But more important is how they look at things, how they look at the reality. The more unique explanation you can give actually tends to be more of artist.
Great.
So so the technique actually can develop by practice. But the natural sense that you have from birth is like how you look at things. I think this is more bigger element than technique to become an artist. That's my opinion.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah.
And there is another question from Gamze Momoka. And what was the biggest struggle of expressing your inner self to the outer world?
I think I was comparing too much up to a certain point. I was comparing with other people, which is unnecessary thoughts, but it's you. you can't, show yourself over yourself. It's you're there. So it took time for me to consider, oh, this is me. And not even care about what other people say. But that was, took time.
Yeah. How do you overcome that feeling in the 20s? 20s or so. Yeah, I'm now 46, so it is easy to have that feeling. That's mine. That's me. That's me. So no problem. That's just me. So I cannot express more than me. So that's me. So I can feel now better. But when we are the 20s, when example the undergraduate or 25 years, maybe they are nervous about that.
Yeah.
How to overcome in the 20s?
No, that's, I don't know how I overcame, but I think the age made the difference. Up to 20 until late 30s, I think I was still same.
Yeah.
I was trying to do things out of my capacity, or do beyond yourself, kind of. But later, late 30s, I think I start to realize, oh, this is me, and this is what I can only do. These are my tools, and you use it. You use it within your tools. But
Did you find some patron or followers to your work when
yes,
when that time? Yeah.
Yeah, to live as an artist, I think you need patrons or supporters. It can be friends, but I have many friends and patrons that supports me for my activity. I mean, supporting is kind of people think that it's all they're financing, but no, it's only about reactions actually. You don't ask for money all the time to the patrons. It's about showing what you did, honestly, and just sharing your experience. But these kind of relation, is my fundamental things that I can continue. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds very important. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very long process and a lonely process. I must say, it's a very lonely process. So you need some resonance after creating. You need some kind of vibration, or else you're kind of making something outer space. When you have no reaction, it's really tough. I don't think it's possible. But the resonance, which I think is a very crucial element to live as an artist.
How did you nurturing that kind of community or relationship? Because for me, the Ibalabo member, my Kenkyukai member, is very such a followers and sharing the resonance with among them. So that is a very easy to go adventure, doing adventure or new things. So that's the very basement of my fundamental things for me. So that how nurturing that kind of community or relationship.
Just long-time friends. That's like lifetime friends, more like. It's probably all the your friends around you in your schools. I have lots of friends that support me from my university days in SFC. We kind of help each other and enjoy the life as we grow. I think this is very fulfilling when it gets to one point.
Nice.
But heart-to-heart relationship, I would say. It's important.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, please.
When you create art, do you usually rely on like sudden bursts of inspiration, or is your creative process usually more time intensive, and your ideas usually coming from like hours and hours of thinking?
Yes, both. I'm probably thinking while I'm asleep because I get ideas when I wake up. So It's inside me all the time. But most of the inspiration I received up to this point is a lot of coincidences. So some coincidences or like weird moments, you know, you sometimes have in daily life that strikes you and doesn't go off your head. You know, these kind of things are actually the seed of idea. You kind of think over and say, come up with, oh, hey, if I would combine this two together, oh, that it makes sense. It's kind of like just having the antenna open all the time. Even in the sleep, they come at you. Yeah.
But would you say it's sort of dangerous as an artist to rely on inspiration instead of more, I would say, reliable processes?
No. Inspiration is definitely the origin. You need this. It's a trigger. Like it's like a fire. You know, like if you ignite a lighter, you need this rock to make sparks in the beginning. Yeah? That's inspiration for me. Then you light it up afterward with that creative spiral I've told you. But yeah, but definitely inspiration is must. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced the lack of inspiration, waiting for the inspiration, but it doesn't come? You have that's such an experience? For me, I got many idea and inspiration I want to do, but my practice is very slow, so I don't experience such a experience for the lack of the inspiration. My hand is very more slow, and so yeah. How about you?
Oh, okay. That relates to the latest chat message. How do you deal with your creative burnout? It's strange. I never had like heavy burnout up to now. Like comes constantly. But of course, you have like few months that you can't think of anything or that no ideas come up. And usually, when you practice long enough, all the technical aspects in your head, so you can simulate any creation in your head. So you kind of do it in your head and say, okay, should I do it physically or should I just keep it in my head? Like, yeah. But yeah, you just kind of wait and see the world until it inspires you somehow. But usually, up to now, it has come quite frequently for me.
Yeah, maybe there are many people worried about that. That life as an artist is difficult. Maybe the inspiration very risky. Maybe they feel risky, but for me, that is a unnecessary worry about living as artist or researcher is the same, similar. But maybe you can get many things, many inspiration or idea you want to do, but the time is very limited. So my struggle is how to make a time to realize idea or inspiration in my life. So that is a more problem, not about lack of inspiration for me.
Yeah. Fortunately, in Berlin, you have a lot of time to think.
Nice.
Like that's why Germany has developed a lot of philosophers. I think this Germany is very strange because you can think a lot because you have so much time. It's simple as that. So this time and space, having having enough time and space is actually very important for creativity because you don't burn yourself in a daily routine. Living to yourself in those areas probably will extend your creativity in a way. And actually having more space, you create bigger art. It's very simple process. If you create art in like a tiny apartment, for example, you probably create something small because subconsciously you're bounded to the space that you live in. You can't get away with this.
Mm.
If you create something without any walls, you probably create something really big. That's how much environment can affect your creativity. It's very big element. Yeah.
And also, what is important to live outside Japan for you? Maybe the one needs a space and time, and also maybe the more cultural thing or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of students here are away from their homeland. I'm not sure how many of you are here away out, but actually, when you live outside of your hometown, homeland, it's tough. You're always in the away game. If you compare that in like a soccer match, football match, you're always away. Well, for me, that is kind of like that triggers my what do you call it? This survival mentality a bit. You know, how can I live, or how can I make this message go through this language barrier or cultural barrier? You think of better ways. You think of how it goes through. That's why the philosophy or metaphysics, of course, it works. It's a universal element. These kind of elements, if you're stuck in one language in one area, you will never have this idea because you don't need it. But getting away from where you're used to actually, for me, works to motivate myself and go forward. Yeah, but it has been quite a long time since I left Japan. And I can't really go back now with this.
Yeah, COVID-19. Yeah.
Yes, COVID-19.
Yeah. I agree that when I was I live in Portland, Oregon last year and 2 years ago. I was very creative because the many things in daily life is a kind of stimuli to me, and also I read a lot of books about Buddhism and also the Eastern philosophy in United States. So that is a very strange thing, but that is also, I feel that I'm very Japanese, and I standing in the very Japanese culture and feeling. So I realize that, so that I'm very interested in the and enjoy reading the Buddhism and also the Eastern philosophy. So that's kind of I agree that part.
I agree with that. Yes, you find your identity. You try to look for your identity. What is, for me, what is Japanese, for example? What elements constructed me? You go into the origin of your influences, or what you were brought up, and you kind of see it from outside. This is a very interesting feeling.
Yeah.
You can define yourself actually through meta, kind of from outside, and look at yourself, what you have done, and what can you do? What's your uniqueness? Yeah. At the end of the day, sorry.
Oh, I think the thing that Iba Sensei mentioned about how like daily life things will be stimuli for creativity is really like something I felt too, because whenever I'm like burnt out and I can't do anything creatively, I'll like go on a walk outside. And like kind of like breathe the air outside. And like, even though that's such a simple thing and like doesn't require too much effort, it'll, even if it's like a short term or short duration, like it'll refresh me to the point where I can like go back to things with an empty mind. And I think that's like one of the most important things of like being an artist, because if you're like in your room just trying to work all day, even though it's like something you enjoy and your passion, like it'll reach a point where like you'll need to see other things, I think.
I agree. You need a balance. You need to find a way to handle it. But from my experience, most of the case, the burnout situation, for example, is kind of you're making up burnout in your own. This is what I felt. if you do it too much before the burnout, your body, of course, says no, I think. But when I look at back my younger days in like 20s or 30s, for me, burnout for me was excuse. That's what I realized. Actually, burnout, that was an illusion. It didn't exist.
I think it's really easy to like kind of use that as a way to like do other things and not work hard at what you want to do. But
right.
So it's kind of about like balancing the like, okay, I'm gonna go out and like look for inspiration, but then also like trying to like get that inspiration from within you, I guess. I don't know if I phrased that too correctly, but like you can't really, I feel like waiting for inspiration is good at times, but like there are times when you have to like just work hard, I think.
The reality is, even if you waiting will never help you. That's my experience. There's no God that pulls you up with an inspiration. You have to use the active imagination, what I explained in the lecture. But you have to have an antenna, that is also active part. But waiting will never solve your problem. This is for sure. You have to grab the next rock and pull up. It's not only about art, but I think it's in life in general. There's no God that will help you up. You have to climb. This is clear.
I want to say share my thinking, and please react to that, Baba-san. The resource of the experience and inspiration is different culture outside homeland. That's what we talked before. And another one is nature. Maybe nature has a very complexity and beauty. So we got many inspiration from the natural world. And third one is the reading books or knowing something we don't know. That is so. The many students realize that Baba-san quote present many quotes from very different domains. I feel that I feel the empathy about that. So I think the artist is very good at learning or enjoying knowing something outside their domain. So the reading books, maybe you like to read books in various domains. So what about what your experience or what you're thinking about the nature and learning from books or learning from others? About that. That's important for you?
Yes. Nature, definitely important. We are all part of nature, first of all. Actually, like nature is the most important element out of all. I think reading books, yes, I read, but I'm not a bookworm, so I don't read every day. But whenever I read, I think it's a probably typical way of artist mind. But you're always finding patterns. Actually, you're just trying to find patterns on every aspect and kind of collect them in your same patterns. So it's like a different axis of learning. If you're a researcher, you dig down with one axis and you have to find data that relates to it. But for artists, there's no one axis that you have to be bounded to, so you can just see it across in different axes. But this, I don't know if it doesn't mean anything, but it does give a different perception. So it really switches people's mind to how to look at things. But I feel there's very important lesson behind these kind of way of thinking or way of viewing the world, because it's gonna, if you follow the same format, same rule in one direction, it's just gonna go one way. And there's a line that it's a point of no return. We have witnessed that in many cases, I think, in our society. But reading books, hearing music, watching films, everything, these kind of elements are actually are nutrition for your next ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there another question? If you have a question, please say something or write down.
Oh, sorry, everyone that has written in chat, I hope I answered your questions.
Yeah, we already answered to these questions.
Okay, good. I wasn't looking into chat window.
Yeah.
Okay. Is art like chatting with yourself, experiencing inner world? Mr. or Miss, Mr. Shin Song? If I would answer this question, yeah. You talk with yourself a lot, but if you talk too much, that's also poison. So mine, like it's a very tricky area of because I think it's in regards to anything, but if you do it too much, it's bad for you. You gotta kind of stop it.
How to say that? 自家中毒. Very. How to
you
say
get lost in your own world. That's not good. It sometimes doesn't result in a good way. So you see your inner world, but I try to communicate about 20% to outer world. But in general, yes, it's a lonely process. You gotta get used to this, I think.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So you mentioned that it's important to look from like higher perspective. But like a lot of people get stuck within their a lot of people can't look from higher perspective. Do you think there's too much risk in the society when people look at from the level headed?
Yeah, I don't. Of course, I can't. I don't always look from higher perspective, but changing the perception is very crucial for artists. If you want to express something, you have to use this part in order to make other people inspire. It's a catch. This is a catch part. I mean, higher perspective, kind of, because you're saying high, it does sound like you're like seeing from the top, like a God kind of view, but actually you're just changing the perspective. That's all it is. And if you can't do that, I think the story will be boring. It's not gonna inspire anyone if it's just a normal story.
Thank you.
Did I answer your questions correctly?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We have 8 minutes left? No, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I thought of doing something interesting as a quiz, but I don't think we have time. So
there are many questions. That is also good.
Okay, that is also good. I was thinking of playing by ear anyway, so that's not necessary. We can continue the questions until the time lasts, or.
There is one interesting question about your ACCI friends back then. It's from Junseok Lee. He's asking, what did you utilize during the college years that influenced you and become who you are today?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
How your friends influenced
you. That's a good question. This is because of designing SFC Sprits. So related to the university life, college life,
SFC days, I was creating video works all day long. Every seminar or class I took, I would turn in all the works I made for my video and try to smuggle it as present it directly to the professors, and please accept me as a grade. And they all gave me a grade, so kind of worked. But I was creating like crazy, just like all day long, really like without sleeping almost. Very, very intense creation days. For 4 years using SFC facility because you have so much equipment. Actually, you're very privileged. You should use it. No kidding. You can use, if you go out in the society and use that, it would cost a lot of money. But if you're SFC
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just use it.
So it means that you didn't become an artist after graduation, like, so you created many things during the. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah,
I think I started to become, like, I called myself artist after coming to Germany, so which is after 2007. It's like recent, like last 10 years, I think that's I could define my artistic activities. Yeah, before that I was creating lots of advertisement, commercials, like films for some client works, which was also okay, as long as I could create something what I imagined and turn that into a living. That was fine with me. Yeah, but I realized I was using creativity not for myself but for the system, and that's where I got away from the client works. Actually, I realized the limit, your capacity of how much you can make in your life, and said, maybe I should do it for my own. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there's another question that Yuma from Yuma, that she wants to know that exhibit in the back. There's art on your back. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
This is an old CRT TV. I always collect them when I find them on the street. But for me, a old CRT TV, this is actually like a wave. It's just picking up random wave from the air. It's like, I like the noise. I think it's very beautiful. And actually, I think I explained this last time in the Ival Sensei's lecture. But there's in the noise, there's about 1% of the first cosmic wave. It's called cosmic CMB, cosmic microwave background. It's the first wave of a Big Bang, actually. It's in the air. You can't avoid this. So every analog receiver, which is like a transistor radio or CRT TV, they pick up this first signal of space when it was born. Yeah, cosmic microwave background. Yeah, you should look it up. It's very fantastic nature, actually. You can't avoid this. It's always there. But I like to look at this noise and look at, I saw a birth of space. It's still flying.
So that's television display that noise every time, not due to the midnight, like that always.
No. Every time. Yeah.
Every time. Yeah.
I don't know what's reflecting, but yeah.
Maybe.
Randomly,
because of the no broadcasting in analog wave now.
No.
It's
I'm just picking up from the air.
Okay. And the painting on the wall is you draw it. Yeah.
Yes. It's my long time painting storage, but I drew it before. Yes, I paint a lot when I don't want to think about concepts. Actually, I use my I just empty out my head and just use a body bit automatically and look back what I drew. This is also another interesting way of creation, like not to think and just let your body go as you feel.
Okay, so please provide a final remark to the final message to the students participating in this class. So maybe the message from you to the students.
Okay, message. I've told most of it in the lecture, but once again, well, the current situation of the world is strange, and it doesn't look like it's gonna go away soon. It will probably form a new society. So my only thing I can tell you will be imagine hard with how it's gonna be and try it out, execute. Because if you don't, you'll get swallowed into the system. And the next system is quite tricky. They'll get you. So be your own, be honest, and try to enjoy life of human being. That's what I can say. And I think that's all there is to it. Don't follow the system. You don't need to. It's gonna be renewed anyways. And follow your instinct. Go for it. Try it out. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Don't think about failure or anything. Just do it and think later. It's enough. But I'm sure a lot of people here have very sharp senses and good sense in a way. So I'm looking forward. And you have to do it, or else who will? We do it. I'm not going to push you, but we have to do it. We have to change. Yeah, but I think we can. I have a hope to the next generation.